Hello, and welcome to the Activated Living Podcast, where we discuss everything mind, body, and soul. I'm your host, Amanda, holistic health practitioner and creator of Activated Living. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the very first Activated Living Podcast. Today, we are going to be talking about hormones. And as a woman who lives with an autoimmune disease, I know all too well the struggles that definitely come with balancing hormones. Here's the amazing thing, though, that I want to just start out the podcast with, that our bodies desperately want to work on a higher level of optimal functioning and thrive for its full potential. With a little nourishment, love, and listening, our bodies can truly thrive. It just takes some time and patience, learning and implementing better habits into our lives for optimal health and wellness. So today we're going to be talking about 4 major pillars for balancing female hormones. And honestly, I feel like this subject itself probably deserves a whole series because it's so intricate and all of our bodies are working at different capacities. However, I feel it's an important topic to cover. Discussing female hormones, I feel, is such a loaded subject also. Growing up, for me, I was going in and out of doctor offices, getting treated for several different allergies constantly throughout my childhood. And working with Western medicine and even some nutritionists, I feel that it was a very generalized subject or statement that women just have PMS struggles and that just comes with the territory of being a woman. I remember over and over hearing how women just hold on to a lot of weight and it's just easier for men to lose weight than women, and we deal with metabolism issues and we struggle with stress differently. I just feel like many people or experts at that time just weren't exactly discussing the real underlying issues of certain symptoms that I was experiencing. So here's the truth. Our bodies were designed to work and function efficiently. Hormones are so interconnected with how our bodies run, and as women, it's extremely important to take notice when certain areas of our health aren't functioning properly. For example, maybe some mild cramping once in a while is normal during your cycle. However, having painful abdominal and cervical pain during every monthly cycle that's just not normal. That's not what our bodies are supposed to be doing. And unfortunately, and I really don't like saying this, but I know so many women who endure just horrible, excruciating pains on a regular basis when it comes to their cycle, lower abdominal pain, cervical pain, and they're just, living in this constant cycle of pain. A little bit about my history and my journey. Throughout my entire life, I had struggles with my cycle. It was never fully consistent, and I had a lot of irregular periods. I actually had my period at a really young age. I want to say I was like in 4th grade. Around my senior year in high school, I received the Gardasil shot that was to help prevent HPV. And about a year after, when I was in my first year of college, I began to have these horrible side effects. My bones felt like they were on fire. I would go 1 or 2 months without my period. I had horrible abdominal pains just at random points of the day. It didn't even have to really be in conjunction with my cycle. It would just happen out of nowhere. I would be super sensitive to the light sometimes, and I would get migraines super easily. I could go on. It was just a really miserable time for me, and I was blessed because at that time I was living in San Francisco. I was maybe like 18, 19 at the time, and I didn't have any health insurance, but I was surrounded by hundreds of natural health practitioners. One nutritionist and herbalist actually opened the doors for me and spoke to me about helping balance my hormones, and slowly over time, I began to put together the building blocks of essentially balancing everything out. Now, when I say slowly over time, I mean a good 5 to 7 years. I was learning, integrating, and I still am, but I was finding that balancing and practicing good health was implementing better habits for me and for my life. And as I was balancing my hormones and balancing my health and balancing, having a good sleep cycle and exercising regularly, all those other things started falling into place for me. And I was seeing that I was able to live at least a little bit more out of pain than suffering constantly. I also want to make a disclaimer right now. I am only a holistic health practitioner, and these opinions are my own from my own personal experience, as well of the years of research and consultations that I've delved into. Remember, we're all different and we have different experiences. This isn't meant to be a one-size-fits-all in terms of balancing female hormones, because honestly, that's just impossible. And this certainly isn't a substitution for any kind of medical advice. If you're feeling like you're struggling with a specific aspect of your health that may be related to your hormones, I highly recommend talking with your general practitioner or OBGYN first. So the top 4 pillars for balancing our hormones will be 1, learning how to manage stress, 2, getting good consistent sleep, 3, real food nourishment, and 4, keeping your body moving. So focusing on number 1 for managing stress, that's just such a loaded statement again. But just to kind of do an overview, these aren't in any particular order, but I feel like managing stress is something that's very worthy of talking about first. And notice how I'm saying learn how to manage stress instead of eliminating stress. I would love to imagine a world where we can completely eliminate stress from our lives, but that just isn't practical in the world we live in. Stress is always going to be there. I personally believe that stress is the number 1 factor in a lot of hormonal balances. So there's going to be 2 types of stress that I'm going to be focusing on when I'm talking about stress and managing stress, and that's going to be about the physical and the emotional. So physical stress is going to be contributed by artificial foods, inflammatory foods, toxic skincare products, chronic stimulation, constantly being on the go, hustling, working until you burn out. All of that factors into physical stress. And when I talk about emotional stress, that's more about negativity, self-doubt, toxic relationships, holding on to grudges, not letting go of the past, holding on to traumas and past experiences, irritability or short temper, feeling overwhelmed or like you're losing all control, agitation or physical inability to relax. Over time, these can build up within our system. And then what we start doing is we're taking in all this stress from different avenues, and we aren't looking and implementing ways to manage this stress. Our endocrine system goes on overdrive, and we essentially start depleting our body and create a huge imbalance and chaos within ourselves. On a scientific level, stress causes the body to release the hormone cortisol, which is produced by the adrenal glands. So cortisol is important to blood pressure regulation and the normal functioning of several body systems, including cardiovascular, circulatory, and male reproduction. When you're in a constant state of chronic stress, your body has a harder time balancing out those hormones. If we don't allow our bodies to relax and ease out of constant physical and emotional stress, the hormone issues will just start building up more and more. It affects your sleep and how you function throughout the day, and it's also going to be affecting how you manage pain. It will just completely, like I said earlier, just cause all this chaos in your body. And our body is so intelligent that it understands the importance of cleansing and detoxifying our systems. And it does so naturally on a daily basis. So when we have these constant environmental, emotional, physical stressors in our life and it just starts accumulating in our bodies, it will typically affect the liver first. Our liver is the primary function in detoxification of our system of waste, and when our liver is overtaxed with all the extra stress that we put on our system, It will then begin to affect our reproductive system. So estrogen dominance and adrenals are typically going to be causing adrenal fatigue. And adrenal fatigue is fairly common for those of us that have autoimmune diseases, and it typically can be the root of some hormonal struggles. Your adrenal glands produce a variety of hormones, and they're essential to your life. Adrenal fatigue is a term that's applied to a collection of non-specific symptoms, such as body aches, fatigue, nervousness, sleep disturbances, digestive problems. So if somebody is diagnosed with adrenal fatigue, that doesn't mean that there's like one kind of pill that you can take and you're going to be cured. What it is it's actually talking about several different symptoms that you're experiencing, and it all kind of has to do with the hormonal imbalance in your adrenals. So how can you help manage stress? I have a couple I have 10 examples here, and these are just things that I've kind of slowly incorporated in my life, some things that have helped me, and maybe it's something that can help motivate and help you. So what I have written down here is spending some time in nature, keeping a journal, exercise, or something that might be a little bit more lighter like yoga, meditation, staying hydrated, taking deep breaths throughout the day, driving mindfully, listening to relaxing music, and learning to say no more often. That one really jumps out at me. When you learn what to say no to, you ultimately are also learning what you want to say yes to. And I think that's a really powerful statement right there. So many times we just feel obligated to say yes to so many things that we don't want to do. And that can, over time, cause a lot of stress into your system. And the last one I would say is cognitive behavioral therapy, or just having therapy in general. A lot of times when we accumulate a lot of stress, maybe it's stress with our family members, partners, business, stuff at work, I really am a huge advocate in saying that having and making that investment for a therapist and talking with them and having somebody help navigate through the ins and outs of what your issues are and your day-to-day stressors is a huge, huge help. So the second pillar that I want to talk about is getting consistent sleep. Sleep is vitally important for hormone balance and maintaining a proper weight and blood sugar regulation. When we sleep, our body's hormones are released into the bloodstream, and these include growth hormone, which is essentially for growth and tissue repair, including adults. So that's not just when you're younger and you're going through your growing pains, or you're, going and growing up and, all your hormones are just going everywhere. You also produce these growth hormones throughout your life. So sleep helps to balance our appetite as well as maintaining optimal levels of two specific hormones, and that's ghrelin and leptin. And now remember I mentioned earlier about cortisol. If your cortisol levels are too high at night and too low in the morning, you can feel completely exhausted, and it's going to be really hard for you to be functioning throughout the day. When you get enough quality, unmedicated sleep, inflammation is going to decrease in your body. And it's really important to note that I'm saying unmedicated sleep, because a lot of times when we take secondary supplementation, so maybe that's taking a shot of NyQuil at night, maybe that's actually getting an over-the-counter or prescribed drug that's going to help you sleep, it will help you in the long or in the short term. It's going to help you eventually fall asleep. That's not going to help you with the root cause as to why you're having trouble sleeping in the first place. The body produces more growth hormone, and stress hormones are then metabolized. So sleep can also help lower your blood sugar levels. During the time of our sleep, our body has this time to completely heal and restore. A lot of us think that, we just need sleep so that we can recharge for the next day, but that goes also down to a cellular level. So our bodies are completely restoring itself, it's healing itself, and it's also detoxifying. That's when your liver is going to be kind of pushing all those toxins through, and you're going to be digesting and detoxifying as well. So for those who suffer from insomnia or inconsistent sleep schedules, you can now imagine the internal damage that it's actually causing within your system. No wonder you feel so much anxiety or so much stress inside, because what you're literally doing is everything then is totally just turned upside down, and chaos is just happening inside your body. And that's not to mention how heightened your stress levels naturally get when you don't have adequate amounts of sleep. The immune system regenerates and makes natural killer cells for the next day's adventures. So the pineal gland makes adequate amounts of melatonin, which is going to protect the body from disease, regulating reproductive hormones, and also setting the body's circadian rhythms. There's also a lot of other functions, and I could go on and on about them, but just sleep is a magical gift that helps restore our bodies, just plain and simple. What happens on the inside is going to be manifesting on the outside. So what exactly promotes healthy and adequate sleep? I would say definitely be in bed, ready to kind of fall asleep around 11. 10 p.m. is more ideal. If you're going to be waking up around 8 or 9 in the morning. 8 or 9 hours of sleep is said to be, during the fall season, adequate amounts of sleep. And then when you're in the summer and springtime, about 7 or 8 hours is pretty good. Make your room completely dark in the bedroom, so there's not going to be any blue light from any electronic screens. That goes for TV and your smartphone or your tablet. I would also suggest, and I know a lot of people are not going to like this, remove your TV from your bedroom entirely. What you want to do is make your room a sanctuary. Also, having magnesium supplementation. This is the number one thing that I tell people, and it doesn't even necessarily have to be when I'm talking with somebody or a client who has issues with falling asleep or not getting adequate amounts of sleep. This goes for if they're just feeling tired, if they're feeling sluggish, if they feel like their digestive system is a little bit off, if they're having a little bit of anxiety. They're not necessarily suffering from chronic anxiety, but just having nervousness, or it's hard for them to concentrate. 9 times out of 10, after we do any type of blood panels or checking the system of what kind of enzymes are depleted, 9 times out of 10, it's a magnesium deficiency. Adding magnesium supplementation to your diet will help your body get the vital mineral it needs. And also, I would say taking a bath in magnesium flakes is, for me, one of the most calming things that my body it allows it to totally relax. Forget the Epsom salts, forget the eucalyptus or the lavender in your bath. Like, those are great. And I think it's a nice little added luxury to have that in your bath. But if you're really looking to help your body kind of calm down, have that all soak into your system, because again, our skin is the largest organ of our whole body. Taking a bath in magnesium flakes is amazing. And also, if you're very active, or maybe you're training for like a Tough Mudder or a Spartan race, or maybe you're just somebody who's very active in CrossFit, and you're going to be using a little bit more aggressive movements instead of something that might be more gentle, like yoga. That is going to be an amazing natural muscle relaxer, and it's going to be really optimal for recovery. So magnesium bath flakes, super awesome. Go out, get a bag. I totally recommend it. As you can tell, I'm like super amped up about magnesium. The third pillar that I want to talk about is real food nourishment. Now, food and nourishment is vital for hormone balancing. I would say that one suggestion that is going to be very easy to start implementing today, if you wanted, is to consume a lot of healthy fats. Cholesterol is a precursor for your steroid hormones. So without good fats, you can't really produce hormone building blocks efficiently or effectively. When our bodies cannot produce something in an effective and efficient way, that's where we typically find a lot of imbalance. Fats are the building blocks for our cell membranes, and these fatty cell membranes surround every cell and act as the border patrol, basically, allowing the right balance of hormones to enter your cells. An easy way to evaluate your diet is look to eliminate the unnecessary oils, such as hydrogenated oils, vegetable oils, processed oils, trans fats, and so on and so forth. Those specific oils will put a lot of stress on your system to actually try and process these oils, which creates a lot of physical stress on several different organs. By replacing those unnecessary and unhealthy oils with good, whole, healthy fats like ghee, butter, raw milks or cheeses, fish, grass-fed meat, or for the vegans, cashew butters, avocados, any kind of coconut product, macadamia nut product, be sure to have an array of these healthy fats in all of your meals. And one thing that helped me when I was kind of ditching a lot of the cheap hydrogenated oils in my diet, like years ago, I was learning, and what my nutritionist told me, and I'll always remember this, is to kind of start building your plate around these healthy fats. So that's like if I'm going to be enjoying a snack like a salad in the middle of the day, instead of focusing more on like just the lettuce and what I'm going to be putting in it, I'll be focusing on, okay, I'm going to have an avocado. I'm going to have a handful of chopped walnuts with it, and then kind of build my meal around that. Okay, so this second tip, which again, I think a lot of people are not going to like, but trust me, it's going to just change everything. It's going to change your world, is to decrease your alcohol and caffeine consumption. So for women specifically, during a week leading up to your cycle, eliminating caffeine and alcohol will have a tremendous effect on your hormones, as well as possibly help alleviate some of the uncomfortable PMS symptoms that you might be experiencing. For example, too much alcohol will stress your liver, and as it tries to eliminate those toxins, because alcohol is literally a toxin, that's going to in turn lead to physical stress symptoms such as pain, also maybe digging into some emotional symptoms such as irritability and mood swings. Decreasing, or hopefully down the line, eliminating caffeine will become less and less taxing on your adrenal glands and will ultimately aid in helping balancing everything out. Our adrenal glands are so connected with our female hormones, and this is why I have so many male and female clients who work with me one-on-one and suffer from adrenal fatigue. And be it male or female, one of the biggest indicators is finding hormonal imbalances as well, and on a spiritual level, not allowing that female counterpart being fully nourished. It's all connected, and it's crucial to support our adrenal levels so that in return, our adrenals can help support our energy levels. The third tip that I have is avoiding sugar and refined carbs. Sugar not only provides major highs and lows in mood and energy, but it can also disrupt one of the most powerful systems in our body, and that's insulin. Insulin is closely connected to all of the other hormones in your body, including estrogen and testosterone, which are two major powerful hormones. Diets high in sugar and refined carbs have been shown to drive insulin resistance. Avoiding or minimizing these foods may be instrumental in optimizing hormone function and avoiding obesity, diabetes, and other diseases. The last pillar that I want to talk about to help balance female hormones is keeping your body moving. My opinion is that the Western world often turns to supplementation and medication to treat hormone-related health issues like stress, depression, sleep deprivation, weight gain, etc. And this is not to say that those don't have a place in this world. I think that for people that are suffering from chronic depression, there might be some chemical imbalances. Those definitely, I would never tell somebody don't take medication if that's what your doctor or therapist has prescribed. Obviously, there's a time and place for those things. But I can truly testify that for me personally, it's not something that I felt like there was a chemical imbalance and I was at the point where I needed to take westernized medicine. But I have noticed that food should be considered as our medicine as well, and as physical activity being the key to help balancing our hormones. One tip that I've heard several doctors and practitioners mention is it's very important to keep your exercises short when it comes to aiding and balancing your hormones. By exercising too long or too hard, you're essentially raising your stress hormones, which defeats the whole purpose of balancing everything out. For me, stretching and yoga are my go-tos when it comes to constant and consistent movement. I find that this practice of pacing my breath and flow of movement in yoga to be extremely calming, and honestly, I can just feel so much of that prana energy when I'm stretching or practicing yoga outside. It just gives me this second added element that, I feel for me, boosts everything to another level. There are thousands of yoga techniques with various benefits, and although I never went through yoga teacher training, I have learned from a handful of my yoga teachers and gurus. There are several different poses that stimulate the hormone-producing glands and help them maintain optimal function. One pose in particular is the eagle pose, and that's where you're standing and your legs are crossed over and you're softly bending the knees and your arms cross over one another, wrapping your wrists together. Like I said, I'm not a yoga instructor, but I know there are plenty of tutorials on YouTube. If you aren't familiar with that pose, you can always type in eagle pose and it'll show you step by step how to do it. Another effective modality of movement that will help balance your hormones for both male and female is Qigong. Qigong is a form of gentle exercise composed of different movements that are repeated a number of times. Often are going to be stretching the body and increasing fluid movement in Qi. For those that are interested in learning more about Qigong and those exercises, of course, I would totally recommend finding a Qigong practitioner and taking a class in person. However, I understand that there may be a lot of people out there listening who just don't have access to an instructor or a group class setting. Again, YouTube has amazing information, and I would totally recommend looking at the 8 Brocades. There's this fantastic tutorial by Mimi Deemer. I think how you spell her name is Mimideemer. And I think that's going to be a good place to kind of start investigating if you feel that you're called to practice that form of movement. I truly hope that you enjoyed this podcast and you found this information to be helpful. For those of you who may be struggling with hormone issues or you feel like there's just an imbalance in general, I continually work with patients one-on-one via in-person or online consultation. So I welcome and invite anyone who may be feeling like they need a little bit extra support or have questions about their health, fitness, or spiritual journey to reach out to me. You can message me directly at activatedliving11@gmail.com or find me on different social media platforms, and I'll have all that information in the show notes below. If you are listening on YouTube, please make sure to like and subscribe. If this is a topic that you would like to have more information on, or maybe you want me to start a little mini series on this, be sure to leave that in the comments below. If you're listening on iTunes, be sure to subscribe. And as always, thank you for listening and showing your support. I hope you have a beautiful day or evening wherever you are, and continue to shine your light within.